Ryan, quick question for you. We last week when we had Mitch on, he was talking about like the checklist as you guys come to the line and everything, you're checking for and what he has
Yeah.
individually and both as a group. With you mentioned the psychological games thing. I find that super fascinating. Is that part of like a checklist as you come to the line every time? Or are you kind of making notes of like things you've done in previous reps against whoever's lined up in front of you? Or do you have kind of like a little log of like what you've done to the game at that point? Or like, are you doing anything in game from a psychological perspective? Or is it more just kind of like a general rule that you kind of operate with on each snap in each game?
So a lot of it is watching film and
Okay.
seeing what the tells are on each defender. You mentioned Mitch. Mitch has his checklist. As a center, you come to the line, you call the front, 4 down, 3 down, load, diamond,
Mm.
um, and then if it's a protection, who we going to, we call a number. And from a protection standpoint, that's the checklist.
Yep.
Sometimes we look at this cover two. That might change who we're IDing on certain plays. I have a little checklist in my head. I like to, if I'm playing against a guy who, some people have tells when they're pirating, they're spiking inside or they might run a games, if, it's third and long and he gets super wide and some guys only rush, tight, when they're three tech, they like to rush, tight and they're angled toward the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
When they get super wide, that kind of gives you a tell, a game might be coming, a little TE or maybe ET.
Mm.
And, people who are pirating or spiking, they might get real square. They might have, sometimes with their pass rushing, most of the time if they're pass rushing, they're getting a 3-point stance and their inside foot will be back up and they'll be back. And when they get real square and they get a 4-point stance, that's an immediate sign that I know they're pirating. I know there's some kind of stunt coming. If their stance gets real narrow, I think Williams with the Jets, he gets real narrow with his stance every time
You kind of owned him. You kind of owned him in that second meeting too. I'll say that. I posted a bunch of those clips during the season. You had him. I mean, you had him mystified because he was coming with so much power, and you were just your hand placement, your hand quickness was just it caught him off guard. I don't think he was expecting that type of level of play from you in that game, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a big dude. One of the things I like, doing pass protection, one of the techniques that I use to my advantage is I use a little cup technique where I try to grab their shoulder pads right here on the collar. And due to the fact that I might not be the biggest guy on the field, I'm 305, some of the defensive linemen I'm going against might be 330, 320. They might be just bigger and stronger than me. I can't control that. And so I use my technique to my advantage. We have an assistant line coach, Ryan Wendell, who isn't super big. He's, 6'3". I think he played at like 290. And that was one of the techniques that he taught me. And, he does a great job of teaching me little tricks of the trade that he used in his day that, being an undersized guy and, just using that little technique and then extending your arm, then using the leverage against the defender. Like, because obviously, like, if someone's running into you, I don't want my arm bent, because if my arm's bent, he's just going to keep running into me, I want to lock that out. I want to create extension, and I'm going to use that leverage to my advantage. And so that's one of the techniques I actually used against him, against Williams, just being given a bigger guy. And, Lawrence Guy with the New England Patriots, I did against him. And, that's one of my things that, I really incorporated in my game that really helped me out a lot.